Hi, my name is William Welch, and this is my social work problem statement video for Social Work 502. We are in the midst of an epidemic. This is not a typical epidemic that has obvious symptoms or quick casualties. This is an epidemic that does not target a specific racial group, age group, gender, or social class. The epidemic I am talking about is co-occurring disorder. We hear so much about the war on drugs and the negative effects that drugs have on an individual. What we don't hear about is the fact that the majority of those afflicted by drug abuse have a much deeper issue, which is untreated mental illness issues. Some of you may ask yourself, what exactly is dual diagnosis disorder? Many people diagnosed with a substance use disorder also suffer from a co-occurring mental health or behavioral disorder. This is what's known as dual diagnosis. Individuals with a dual diagnosis require an integrated treatment plan that addresses both disorders as interconnected mental health issues. According to the National Survey on Drug Use and Health, 45% of people with addictions have a co-occurring mental health disorder. On average, approximately 17.5 million Americans over the age of 18, which accounts for about 8% of the American adult population, had a substantial mental health disorder over the last year. Of these, about 4 million Americans were also afflicted with a co-occurring drug or alcohol dependency issue. People diagnosed with a mental health condition are about twice as likely as the general population to suffer from a substance use disorder. Similarly, individuals who frequently abuse drugs or alcohol are likely to develop a co-occurring behavioral or mental health disorder. It is widely accepted that a mental health disorder can induce a substance addiction and vice versa. Researchers are uncovering what causes both conditions to occur simultaneously. There are three variables that must be considered. First, the brain's response. Abusing drugs can elicit symptoms that mimic a mental illness. For example, excessive marijuana use can give rise to psychosis in some individuals, which is a severe mental health disorder that causes people to lose touch with reality. The second variable to consider is a person's genetic makeup. A person's genetic predisposition can make them more likely to develop an addiction or a mental disorder. The third variable to consider is triggers within the environment. Research shows that genes make up 40 to 60% of a person's susceptibility to addictions. Chronic stress, persistent anxiety, or a traumatic event can kickstart an addiction or mental disorder. Many individuals find themselves using substances to self-medicate. One of the most common issues surrounding dual diagnosis is self-medication. Self-medication involves using drugs or alcohol to mask the symptoms of a mental health issue. However, using substances as a coping mechanism for mental health or behavioral illness can end up causing and inducing an addiction and make the underlying mental illness even worse. When looking at this, for example, drinking alcohol to feel less anxious in social settings, taking excessive amounts of benzodiazepines like Xanax or Valium to impede an oncoming panic attack, using marijuana to numb emotional pain from trauma or grief, smoking or injecting cocaine to increase energy and motivation to complete daily tasks. Sadly, resorting to substances as a way to escape a mental health condition can be a damaging decision. People struggling with a mental or behavioral illness who start abusing drugs or alcohol will consume as much as it takes to achieve the effects they want. As they build up a tolerance over time, they will need to continue using more of this substance to achieve the same high. This negative, self-feeding cycle is what spawns a co-occurring substance addiction and mental health disorder. Many times, dual diagnosed disorders are further exacerbated by inappropriate diagnoses. Currently, right here in Vigo County, approximately 95 out of 100 citizens had a prescription for an opioid in 2017, and Indiana had an average of 73 individuals per 100 statewide. While it is uncertain of the exact cost this epidemic is estimated to cost, there is no doubt the amounts are astronomical. I have discussed how this epidemic affects an individual's psychological and personal state. The issue goes much deeper, as when an individual suffers from mental health or an addiction, it can affect and cause greater distress to the entire family unit. Many times loved ones do not understand what is going on, nor do they know where or how to help an individual afflicted with this. On a community level, these afflictions can cause behaviors that lead to criminal and derelictic behavior. Society as a whole does not understand how to deal with these issues, which is why our prisons are so full of individuals afflicted with co-occurring disorders. This only amplifies the ramifications and costs to society as a whole, as recidivism is at an all-time high. Lawmakers are beginning to understand that this is a widespread issue that is going to require intervention. A number of policies have been launched across the U.S. to combat this epidemic. One of those policies is Substance Use Disorder Prevention that promotes Opioid Recovery and Treatment for Patients and Communities Act. That is a long title, but the acronym is SUPPORT, S-U-P-P-O-R-T. The SUPPORT Act was signed into law on October 24, 2018 by President Donald Trump. The comprehensive bipartisan legislation to address the opioid epidemic, which passed overwhelmingly in both the House and the Senate, tackles many aspects of the epidemic, including treatment, prevention, recovery, and enforcement. While very broad in scope, the final legislation contains a number of provisions related to Medicaid's role in helping states provide coverage and services to those who need substance use disorder treatment.